Good evening and welcome back to Red Wave USA. My name is Ross Raatz and we have a wonderful show in store for you today. Happy Friday as we have finally hit the end of the week. Some of the topics that we're going to be getting into today are going to include, I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit, updates about the government shutdown. There's not too much. We're still kind of the same situation, but I'll provide some updates regarding that. Next, we'll roll into Trump the Peacemaker headlines, right? The Israel and Hamas have come to a peace deal, or at least phase one of a peace deal. I'll tell you what that entails and what we are doing regarding updates on that. And lastly, we're going to get into the indictment of Latisha James, Attorney General for New York. Yeah, the one that indicted Trump back in 2023. We'll get talking about that later on in the show. Thank you again for watching and continuing to support Red Wave USA. It means the world to me, and I can't wait to give you another great show on this Friday evening. Thank you. Friday, October 10th. Hello and welcome back to Red Wave USA. I'm starting to get the hang of this a little bit, so episodes are going to start coming in a little more frequent. I'm trying to stick on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. We'll see how that plays out. I know Wednesday's episode was a little bit late. I ran into some editing issues, so that's the explanation for that. But anyways, let's get down to Friday, October 10th. Happy Friday to everyone that celebrates, and I know that's everybody out there. We made it to the end of another week amidst a government shutdown, right? Anyways, regarding this government shutdown, this is now day 10 of this whole debacle. They did have a vote recently, and that most recent vote, can you take a guess at where we stand once again? Yeah, no budge. None. There's not even anybody from the left that is even wanting to move this forward. Besides Fetterman, and I think there's one or two others that, forgive me, I don't have their names, but it has stayed at that 45 mark. All Democrats wanting to not budge. It's getting ridiculous. And it's getting worse and worse by the day. And I know I go over this a lot, but it is. This needs to be taken seriously, and it seems like it's not. The most recent vote, 54-45, right? I don't know why we're missing one on the yay side. I don't know if someone decided not to show up to work, or maybe a Democrat decided not to vote. I'm not sure where that one vote is, because it has been 55-45 for a while, but today's report comes out as 54-45, so lost another vote. Not sure if somebody was out sick or how that plays out. I'd love for someone to explain that to me. But anyways, again, we're still at this standstill. 45, no. And we just need a few. Again, I go over it a lot when I talk about the government shutdown. We need 5 of you. Well, 6 now with this 54 vote, but we need 5 or 6 of you. That's it. 5 or 6 of you to say, okay, you know what? We need to get this government back running. I'm going to vote for this funding bill, right? But no, they're all sticking behind Chuck Schumer, and apparently he's going to be the ringleader of this whole let's take our stand and we're going to sit on this and set up camp in this government shutdown and wait for Republicans to budge, right? But we're not going to budge. That's the thing. It's the Democrats that need to get over this whole healthcare issue that I'm not going to get into again. There's no more talking that needs to be done regarding that. It's become annoying at this point. We need to get it through, right? But layoffs are beginning. I think the most recent report was 4,000 members, 4,000 more federal employees have been laid off, and we're only going to see more. And again, it's starting to come into our communities. I hope you're not planning on traveling anytime soon. The aviation field is taking a huge hit in this. There's delays and cancellations all over the place regarding flights. So don't plan on traveling, as they are taking a huge hit there. And one other thing I wanted to mention today, I don't really have it in my notes, but the Democrats are trying to push through a funding bill to pay the military, right? To make sure they're getting their paychecks, which is on October 15th will be their next date of pay for the military, right? They're trying to push this through. And while I don't fully agree with it, I'm not too sure why this was the case, but Republicans denied that. And the only thing that I can see as to why they denied that is because we already have a funding bill on the table right now, right? We've already been there, but Democrats are trying to save face in a sense and get our military paid. Well, I understand that. You already have a funding bill on the table. Pass that one and our military gets paid. But no, they want to seek the good media and get the military paid through this funding bill. And now they're going to use this as a way to say that Republicans are stalling. Republicans don't want our military to be paid. We do. It's in the original funding bill that you guys have denied a good, 7 votes now, I think we're at. So anyways, I want to move past this whole government shutdown thing. I understand it can get really repetitive, right? So I want to get into some good news, right? This is finally, I have some good news, right? And that is, and I'm going to label it Trump the Peacemaker, right? That's what he's labeling it. I have his Truth Social post regarding this whole phase 1 deal between Israel and Hamas, right? I'm going to throw up that Truth Social post if I can. That should be on the screen now. But anyways, he goes into talking about how this whole peace deal is in phase 1, right? Now, I've heard some other Republican media members talking about how we did have a partial phase 1 back in January that didn't really work out, right? But it seems this one's kind of sticking, right? So phase 1 in this is Israel has agreed to pull back the IDF and pull back their forces out of portions of Gaza. They're not fully pulling out yet, but a lot of Israel military is being pulled back, right? And with that, we saw that Gaza citizens, are moving back in. I'll see if I can find that photo. Hundreds of thousands of citizens are coming back to a destroyed city, right? And I won't get into the whole, ideologies of that war right now, but we see, Palestinians are moving back in, right? And this should be a good thing for both sides, right? Also, besides the fact that Israel is pulling out, not fully pulling out of Gaza, but they're kind of receding, they're pushing the line back a little bit, right, allowing Palestinians to move back in. But we're also going to start seeing prisoner exchanges going on between Gaza or Hamas and Israel, right? And this is all phase 1, right? We're still in this tentative plan. There's still room for it to kind of go haywire, so we're not fully positive, but Trump is seeming very positive that this plan is going to be the plan that works, right? Now, I want to get into the political impact of all of this, and it is a hugely positive thing for Trump, right? The whole headline, the headline that I just used, Trump the Peacemaker, right? And I know that is really going to anger some liberals, right? No one on the left seems to think that Trump is a peacemaker. That's why we see everything going on with ICE. They see Trump as right. What do they call him again? Oh, the dictator, the fascist. But how do you dispute this? Starting a whole peace deal in this thing. Let's not forget that this started back in 2023 under Biden. And while I'm sure he did try and push for a peace deal, I don't remember anything working out quite like it is now. Trump has pushed this. He's brought both people to the table, both parties, and said, let's stop this. It's getting out of hand, right? And I know that just angers liberals. I know it does, right? But the whole kind of headline of Trump the Peacemaker is really Trump just kind of dangling it in their faces, right? Look, I'm a peacemaker, right? I find it funny. But we do know that Trump is a huge media guy. He created the whole Truth Social deal and his own platform. We know he's huge in the media. So we know that he's going to use this to his fullest advantage, you know? And I understand it. I do. I get it. I like it. I agree with it. You should get benefits for doing something good like this. That should be the result of orchestrating a peace deal. You should get the positive media influence out of that. So that makes complete sense to me. But anyways, it's continuing to push this peace narrative. And again, he has every right to do that. And I'm just very happy that I can finally sit here and report on some good news. While I fully understand we're only in phase 1, but it seems that, we're starting to kind of restore a little bit, right? We're starting to restore our foreign politics, right? The U.S. orchestrating this huge deal in this huge war overseas. U.S. did that, right? So a huge positive media influence for not only Trump, but the USA as a whole, right? Even Vladimir Putin came out and said Trump is really doing the most right now for international peace. And that this is from, right, Vladimir Putin. It's pretty big. But anyways, not too much else on phase 1. We're still kind of, I don't want to say a gray area of it, but we're still in this waiting period to see how this whole deal plans out and just how many phases are included in this deal, right? We've seen Israel be very persistent that they want to keep hammering down on Gaza, but finally we're seeing some resolve, I guess you could say, right? But anyways, I want to move into our second topic of the day. And this is I don't know how to really explain it from my sense. I don't know if it's positive or negative. But anyways, New York Attorney General Latisha James, right? The same Attorney General that indicted Trump back in 2023. The same Attorney General that brought Trump into the courts, obviously politically motivated back in 2023. We were upcoming on an election, and they're indicting him. This was the first kind of thing we've seen in most recent years of a politically motivated court, a politically motivated Attorney General. Kind of like Alvin Bragg and his whole shtick, right? But anyways, Latisha James indicted on federal bank fraud and false statements charges, right? So apparently how this whole thing has come to light is Latisha James owns a property or a home in Virginia, and she has claimed that as her second place of residence, right? This home in Virginia. And as she has claimed it as her second residence, you see better loan rates on a home like this, right? You are more favored on the bank that this is your second place of residence. Well, it has came out that this second place of residence is being rented out. She's renting it out, receiving obviously rent and everything like that, making money off of it. Well, as far as I know, if it's your second place of residence, you're supposed to be living there a portion out of the year, that you wouldn't have renters living in your second place of residence, right? But anyways, the huge call by the left is that Trump is militarizing the Department of Justice, right? But now Dems want to ring the bell that this is all politically motivated. Trump is finally getting his revenge. And this should not happen in America. Really? Really? Do you mind going back with me to the year of 2023, as I just previously stated? The falsifying records, that indictment charges that they brought on Trump. Remember that? Just, months before an election. Well, he's on the campaign trail. Remember that indictment? By Latisha James? Because I sure do. I sure remember it being very politically motivated. Again, we're in the same scenario where Democrats want to have their cake, but they want to eat it too, right? They want to be able to politically persecute the right, Trump, right? They want to have that power to use the courts to their advantage when they're in power. Oh, but when Republicans come back, when Trump comes back and does the same sort of thing, oh, all of a sudden it's terrible. All of a sudden you're using the Department of Justice as your weapon. Notable Dems are saying he's using the Department of Justice as his personal attack dog, going after his political opponents. Where does the logic come from in scenarios like this one? How do you think, as a Democrat, when you look at a story like this, New York Attorney General Latisha James indicted on federal charges, how do you look at this and go, this is politically motivated and it's wrong, we should not be doing this? When you did the same exact thing back in 2023, during, no less, an election cycle. And no less, a presidential election cycle. How do you look at this and be upset by it? This is of your own doing. You brought this upon yourself. You started this war. Well, I know war might not be the greatest word to use, but the Democrats started this whole charges and courts war, prosecution war. They started this. They started politically motivated charges, politically motivated indictments. The Democrats started this, all of this. But now when it's against them, all of a sudden it's a problem. Was it a problem back in 2023? Because I don't think it was. I remember them coming out and saying, nope, this is the justice system and it is there to do justice, right? We're bringing justice upon America during an election cycle, right? No. I can't emphasize it enough, It's really confusing to me how the Democrats do something, but as soon as it's done back to them, it's a problem. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Don't push forward these narratives. We can say this about multiple, topics over politics. We can say this about all of it. You want to call our top policy leaders these horrible names, like fascists and dictators, all that, Nazis. And then you wonder why conservatives are upset about all of it. But I know you guys all remember the case back in 2023 when they had claimed that Trump was overstating the value of Mar-a-Lago, right? And that ended in a $500 million settlement, or not settlement, but fine that Trump had to pay, which he later went back and it was kind of overturned, right? The $500 million charge was dropped. Oh, but then Latisha James filed again, right? Let's go back to court. I want that $500 million charge over Trump's head. But now here we are in the great year of 2025. And it's on you, Latisha James. The charges are on you. Looks like you had some dealings of your own. Right? So anyways, I just think it's funny. It's the same thing. We're doing it right back to him. And that's why I said in my opening, I don't know if it's necessarily positive. I'd like to see more of a united front from the right, from our side as conservatives. I'd like to see that we're the bigger person in this. That's why I don't necessarily agree with what's going on. But, maybe the charges are real. Maybe we're looking at something that truly is against the law, right? Maybe this is something that needed to be brought to light. But anyways, because this looks like we're doing the same thing. Obviously, that's what Dems are calling for, that we're just getting revenge on Latisha James, the prosecutor, for what she did to Trump. And I will say that's what it does look like right now. But I'd like to see kind of from our side be like, you know what, we don't do that. This from a sense, it kind of looks like we're stooping down to their level. So I'm kind of conflicted on it. I'd like to see us take the higher road. But at the end of the day, what else is going to work? Let's kind of go to the future a little bit in the 2028 presidential cycle. Whoever is going to be our candidate right now, it looks to be J.D. Vance, but what's going to stop the Democrats from pulling out something in that election? What's going to stop liberal prosecutors from digging through every file to find something on J.D. Vance that they can haul him into the courts for? I don't know. So maybe we do need to do it back to them, right? Well, I'm not saying this is fully politically motivated. It's still a early development in the story. But what would stop Democrats from weaponizing courts politically? Is the answer to that, what we're doing and doing it back to them? Is that the answer? I don't know. I really don't know what would provide us protection from them weaponizing the courts again. So again, I not really sure where I stand on this whole thing. Maybe Trump didn't have anything to do with it. We don't know. So anyways, kind of a shorter episode today. I just wanted to, again, it is Friday, I just wanted to get something out there. I spent, hours editing my last video as, I tend to go off on tangents, and that tangent was an hour long last episode, So I'm going to be putting out a little bit of a shorter episode with this installment, but just wanted to report on a few of these kind of breaking news deals with the whole thing, the peace deal, and this Latisha James indictment issue, right? And this is only going to develop as weeks go on, the whole indictment. It's going to develop, things are going to come out, we're actually going to get to see the facts of the matter, We're actually going to see the meat being put on the bone, in a sense. But as you know how I end all of my episodes, conservatives stay proud. No matter what situation is thrown our way, we will continue to be proud conservatives. We will continue to be proud patriots. We'll continue to be proud Americans, right? No matter what instance is thrown at us, what hate is thrown at us, what insults are thrown our way. And on the right, we sure do get a lot of them. A lot of nasty looks, insults. But that doesn't demean us. What brings us up, what makes us proud, is our country. And it makes me more proud that I can say this in a Republican-led Congress, a Republican-led executive. It makes me proud to see things finally starting to be done regarding what we went through in those years of 2020 to 2024 in the Biden admin. You know, now finally being old enough to really understand politics, and I know I have a long way to go in truly understanding every facet of politics. It's finally good to see the positives that are coming out of this administration, right? But anyways, I want to say happy Friday. Another Friday episode. We're here. It's my second Friday episode. So enjoy your weekend. I hope you got some fun things planned. I know I do. Going to watch a football game this weekend. Love football. I love that fall time is finally starting to come around. We're starting to see the colors a little bit, and the temperatures are finally diving down. I know here in Michigan, we're not used to 80 degrees in October. But finally, you know, walking out of the door and feeling that crisp 50 to 60 degree air, it feels good. And that crisp 50 to 60 degree air along with a football game and maybe a beverage, right? It doesn't get much better than that. And again, that's why I love America. Freedom to do things like that. So anyways, I hope you have some great plans for your weekend. I will see you again on Monday. That is the plan, at least. Hopefully we'll have some more things to report on and some more topics to speak on. But again, thank you to all the support I'm getting. It means a lot to me. I've had people reaching out to me regarding these shows, and I know we're still in the startup phase, and I'm still trying to figure out how this whole talking to the camera thing works. So bear with me. But anyways, enjoy your weekend. Have a wonderful weekend. And stay proud to be a conservative. Good night.